Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Doctor Who Season 2, as in from 1964 to 1965, because it gets a bit confusing later on with naming the series, seasons, whatever. Anyway, basically, this is going to be a bit similar to the last, retrospective, but hopefully a bit shorter because I don't have to introduce everything. First off, looking at the arcs really quick for those who are curious of what's gonna last long term. I can't honestly think of anything, unfortunately, that will last long term. Though there are some things that are interesting and worthy of note within the season. For instance, the very last arc of the season, the Time Meddler, has another being from Doctor Who's planet, presumably, because they have their own TARDIS. That's the Time Meddler. I'll put, arc, all that stuff above my head. But basically, this dude, travels back in time and uses it for, I don't want to say personal gain, but it's interesting. I don't want to spoil it. Other than that, I don't see anything really long-term. Though I will note that the Daleks do return for 2 arcs this season. The Dalek invasion of Earth, which is important for another reason, and I will get into that in a minute, as well as the arc known as The Chase, where the Daleks also are involved with another interesting plot point. I am honestly just realizing that right now as I'm reading my notes. But, what happened in Season 2 of Doctor Who? Well, I'll give you a quick synopsis for all of the arcs. The first arc, Planet of Giants. Basically, the crew is coming in for a landing, oddly enough, somewhere in the 1960s on Earth. But for some odd reason, the TARDIS malfunctions, the doors open, and through science technobabble, the TARDIS has shrunk to probably about maybe an inch or so high. And, yeah, one of the crew members, Ian, gets separated from the group, and their ultimate goal is to get Ian, and return to the TARDIS and leave. But also, there's another important subplot that goes on. And I don't want to ruin it, but basically, if the crew didn't get involved, in that world's history, things would have gone so terribly wrong. It's shocking and scary, and it's very cool. And I like that idea of, these people could have just ignored, this place and gone on their way, and things could have gone badly. But because they got involved and did something, they ultimately saved the world, and I'm not even sure if they knew about it. I've seen that before in something else, but it's interesting. Now we move on to the next arc, the Dalek invasion of Earth. The year is 2164, roughly. And unfortunately, the Daleks have found Earth and taken over. The crew hooks up with a small resistance in London, of all places. For those of you who don't know, that's where it originates, with Ian and Barbara. And, yeah. So, working with, what little resistance is left, they do take out the Daleks that are in London and ultimately save the town. But, unfortunately, it is at this point when, Susan, the granddaughter of Doctor Who, leaves the crew. And, basically, it's that, her character fell for a human on Earth, named David, who was helping lead with the resistance and all that stuff, and yeah. And it's nice, but it's heartbreaking in that, you want these characters to, stick around and journey with the Doctor and see what they do and all that stuff, but you know what? I'll let the Doctor say it, because he had a beautiful, line for this one, so, and yeah, I can't say it better myself. So moving forward from that, we move on to the next arc. Basically, they end up on some alien planet and wind up finding 2 stranded astronauts who are being held captive, it seems, by an alien monster known as Coquillion. Basically, it's a little short arc, but we get a new crewmate for this one, Vicki. And I forgot to write down the last name. My bad. Moving forward from there, we have the Romans. Basically, the crew goes back to, I forget the year for Rome, but basically, back when Caesar's ruled and all that. Caesar Nero. I will look that up, and I will put that. Basically, they take a quick little vacation, spend a month in, ancient Rome, admiring the sights, absorbing the scenery, all that stuff. It's, just a nice little vacation thing. That does have some interesting twists and turns, and shows, like, a cool little history aspect, because, we deal with Caesar and the burning of Rome, in case you're not a history buff, and like, one of the things that I really loved in the end of this was, as the crew's, like, fleeing Rome because it's on fire at this point, Vicki points out, you could have potentially inspired the burning of Rome. And, like, the Doctor just his reaction is funny to me. Like, I just have to say that. Oh my god, yes. The next arc is the Web Planet. It is freaking stupid and funny. Well, it's really good and well written, and I love it. And honestly, this is one of my big recommendations for season 2. Not because it's gonna, like, matter in 50 years, but because of the aliens on the planet. People, are quick to point out the special effects failings of Doctor Who, and I'm not going to defend everything. Honestly, the one group of aliens is, I'll say it, giant ants with, like, obvious human legs, and another group appears to be bees. And I just love their overacting and ridiculousness. Like, legit, I'm going to stop here, I'm going to get some footage, and I'm going to show it to you. It's a little ridiculous, but I liked it. They were interesting aliens, and definitely worthy of note for the retrospective. Moving on to the next arc, which takes place during the Crusades, and unfortunately, there were several episodes where I couldn't find, clips. I couldn't find the episodes. Basically, like with season 1, there were, they did have, like, stills from the episode with the dialogue over it, but again, that's something I couldn't really get into. So, I skipped those episodes. I mean, there were, like, 1 or 2 that were actual episodes, and I did check, and I'm glad I did, because the man who played Ian Chesterton, William Russel, I believe is the name? Yeah, William Russel. Actually did a quick introduction thing. Like 30 years or so after Doctor Who. Like after this episode, I mean. Because, it opens, in color with this older gentleman, talking. Oh, da-da-da-da-da. Like, if I wanted people to really think I was mad, I'd tell them, how I was knighted by Sir... And I totally forget the historical figure's name. And I apologize for that. I skipped the episodes because I couldn't see them, so... Yeah. See, moving on to the next arc. The Space Museum. This was a cool, interesting one. It had some cool special effects. Like, basically, like, interacting with, like, holograms, essentially. And also, it brought up a cool time paradox idea that basically the TARDIS, got off one of its time tracks or something, I believe. So somehow the crew had ended up on this planet and like were able to exist and interact with things somehow before they arrived on the planet. It's very confusing, but like. Just like the idea is interesting and awesome, and again that makes I'd say that makes it worthy of looking at too, at least for the first episode, because that's when all that wraps up. And then we move to the other sad arc of the season for me, known as The Chase. Basically, the Daleks have their own time machine now, and proceed to chase the Doctor and crew through time. There's a filler episode or so that's honestly mostly humor. I think it's just one, actually. Like, basically, they go to the top of the Empire State Building, they go to a random haunted house, and it's funny and worth it, like that episode, but like it's not necessary, to be honest. And everything is well. They defeat the Daleks, they escape them. Oh, also they bring in the cool concept of Doctor Who fighting a robotic version of Doctor Who. Like, basically the Daleks can make that because they're scientifically advanced like that. But Daleks are defeated. Their time machine is still there, and Ian and Barbara, seeing the opportunity to use it to go home, ask Doctor if he can help them to operate it so that they can return, to London. The weird thing is, though, whenever they do it, they end up going back to London it's either 65 or 66, basically 2 years after they had left originally on their journey. So, yeah. Try explaining that one to your boss. Oh, yeah, hi. I'm back for my, old teaching job. I was gone for 2 years. Where did you go? Oh. Yeah. And then, like I said earlier, which leads me to the final arc of the season, known as the Time Meddler. Basically, they go back to 1066, the Battle of Hastings, apparently, and meet, another person of the Doctor's race who has a TARDIS and basically is manipulating, time and space, like, to try and make things more advanced. Like, oh, hey, if, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Basically, like, skip, like, forward how time progresses. So, like, instead of just inventing the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell did, maybe, like, I don't know. You get the idea. Things would go a bit faster. So, like, what we have in 2016 right now might be stuff that we won't have until, like, let's say 25, 30. It's crazy, but it's an interesting idea. But yeah, so those are all the arcs, basically. Like I said, the big two interesting ones for sure are definitely the Dalek invasion of Earth, the first episode of the Space Museum, the Chase, the Time Meddler. Like, it has good things. They're not going to last long term, but just like new interesting things to see that I really enjoyed. I did enjoy the history bits, and I wanted to highlight those as well. But with the Crusade not being, footage, I can't personally recommend it. Though, like, if you're down with podcasts and stuff like that, you can definitely, enjoy those episodes, and there's nothing wrong with that. Then really quick, I did talk about some of the crewmates leaving, and, I wanted to quickly talk about some of the stuff associated with that. I did some quick research. Basically, the actor who played Ian Chesterton, William Russel, is still around at the age of 92. Like, I guess he did an interview with somebody last year, and I think that's very cool. As for what he did after leaving his role as Ian Chesterton, I guess he did some work, with Doctor Who, like audiobooks and other things, like not acting in the show, but just other cool things afterward. Let's see, Barbara Wright, who was played by Jacqueline Hill, unfortunately passed away from cancer in February 1993 at the age of 63. After leaving Doctor Who, I guess she started and raised a family. And then, the final person who left was, Susan Foreman, played by Carole Ann Ford, who's still alive now at the age of 76. Basically, and part of this is based off of an Adventure in Time and Space, like a docudrama movie they made about the series, the making of the series of Doctor Who. It seemed implied, like, in the movie that she left because she wanted to do things besides, you know, be a sidekick and, you know, fight creepy monsters and all that crap. And I can appreciate that. But it still hurt seeing this cool, you know, nice character just leave. I did do some quick research, and I guess she had some health issues as well, unfortunately. And I'm not gonna... I can't get into that, but, you know, after Doctor Who, she did do some stuff with Doctor Who afterwards, like audiobooks and the like Ian did. I mean, sorry, William Russell. And also, like, she's taught voice and presentation skills to, you know, other people. Because, again, she had some health issues, unfortunately. And, you know, it's cool to hear that she's still around. You know, if she sees this, I hope she appreciates, you know, that 50 years later, someone's still talking about, like, her performance as Susan. Yeah. I really liked the original crew. You know, William Hartnell as Doctor Who is very nice, sweet, charming. You know, and he's a perfect fit for the Doctor, honestly. Like, you know, he's a bit of a hard, scholarly type at times, but he can also be genuine and human. And, you know, Susan leaving and Ian and Barbara leaving really showed those moments. I'd say, like, of my favorite person, it had to be Ian, just because, you know, like, I can identify with him, first off. Like, you know, he's a very nice, well-mannered person, and, you know, when push comes to shove, he will do things. Like, one of the cool things he did was, he was able to fight and defeat an Aztec warrior. Like, admittedly with some trickery, basically, you know, like knowing pressure points and stuff like that. But, yeah, he was the muscle of the group. He would go toe-to-toe with the monsters and the bad guys, and more often than not, you know, come out fine. At least okay. Or distracting long enough for them to escape. Barbara was excellent in that, you know, she was good, kind-hearted, like, kind of this, like, motherly figure for the group. And again, it worked so well. And my favorite role for her, I think, was whenever she took up, you know, being an Aztec goddess. Again, the Aztecs. Interesting enough. Susan, you know, was just the younger, like, child. You know, like, oh, hey, what's this, what's that, da-da-da, like, curious and all that stuff. And she was cool and interesting, and, I think my favorite arc for her, honestly, was just, you know, the Dalek invasion of Earth. Because it did seem kind of out of nowhere, the whole, like, you know... Well, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, her wanting to leave the group, but it was understandable. You know, like, she's been traveling with them forever, there's no guarantee they're going to find their home world. So, the idea of wanting to, you know, find your own place in the universe and make roots and live a nice life, it's understandable. And I can appreciate that. And, I'm glad her character got that opportunity, and I'm glad that Carole Ann Ford, after the series, you know, got to do things that she wanted to do besides, you know, be just a sidekick character. Again, something I can totally appreciate. And yeah, that is it for, like, season 2, really. It was a good season. If you like the first season, you're gonna like season 2. I can guarantee it. Going into season 3, really quick, I didn't get to talk much about the new characters, and I will briefly here. Basically, Vicki joined in the arc known as The Rescue. Basically, it was get picked up by Earth, or, you know, and get questioned about dealings with this alien race that you interacted with that was wiped out, or travel with us and, you know, live a nice, fun life. And also, she kind of took the place of Susan, in that, you know, she was this younger character, you know, who was like, ooh and ah, and curious. So, I like her so far. You know, she's a good character. She's got, I believe she's from the year 24 or 2500 something. So she has the science aspect. So, like, you know, sometimes when the Doctor's talking about stuff, it doesn't go over her head as much as it did with Ian and Barbara, being from the 1960s. So she's a good addition to the crew. And if I'm going to say it, played by Maureen O'Brien. And then we have Stephen Taylor, who came in toward the end of the chase and, you know, was in the Meddler the whole time. I haven't gotten to see as much of his character, because, like, literally it's, oh, hey, the last episode of the chase, like, we're introduced to this character. And then he sneaks onto the ship, and he appears, you know, for only the time Meddler. He's kind of a pain in the ass, in my opinion, at times. Like, he's all like, why should we listen to the Doctor? Like, does his own thing. It's understandable, and I get it. And, yo, he does have his good points, too. Like, he's very clever in dealing, you know, with, the man known as the Monk in this arc. He does a clever little trick. I gotta give him that point. I gotta give him that much. So, you know, he's very scientific. I guess he's going to replace Ian as the muscle of the group. You know, and he's got a bit of cynicism and, like, you know, will come to his own conclusions on things, not follow simply what the Doctor says. And I can respect that. Like, that's cool. And he's played by Peter Purves. Purves, which will be above my head, just to be clear. But, yeah. It was a good season 2 for the series. And I cannot wait to jump into season 3. And, really quick, you know, 100% transparency, I do know some things going into the arc, because I googled Doctor Who episode guide, and I got this website that, you know, covers each season. And, you know, it covers, like, what planet they're on, you know, which Doctor it is, and the companions for the group. And then a little synopsis for, like, the arc. I didn't read everything yet for season 3, but, you know, I see some new people rotating in, and then some people rotating out. But definitely season 4 is something that I'm currently dreading. And I will get into that when I hit season 4, or maybe the end of season 3. But anyway, everyone, thank you for watching. I really hope you're enjoying this adventure through time and space, you know, with the Doctor and Valiant Bradley James. Till next time, guys. Have fun, stay safe, be well, and I, Valiant Bradley James, the character investigator, will catch you next time. Peace.